Hello, I'm Sam Stovall, Chief Equity Strategist of S&P Capital IQ. At this week's Investment Policy Committee meeting, we discussed the outlook for the second quarter earnings reporting period. Hello, I'm Sam Stovall, Chief Equity Strategist of S&P Capital IQ. At this week's Investment Policy Committee meeting, we discussed S&P 500's typical performance in July, the third quarter, and the second half of any year. After climbing nearly 1% in price during the final week of the month, the S&P 500 narrowed its decline to 1.5% in June. 3 of its 10 sectors were higher on the month, while 35% of its sub-industries rose in price. So what does history say is likely to happen in the months ahead? Well, since 1945, history shows, but does not guarantee, an above-average return for the S&P 500 in July. Its best performance was an 8.8% jump in 1989 versus a 7.9% slump in 2002. For the third quarter, however, history also advises investors to fasten their safety belts since the volatility of returns for Q3 since 1945 was nearly 25% higher than for the other 3 quarters. Finally, the S&P 500 rose 12.6% in price during the first half of 2013 versus an average 4.1% for all first halves since 1945. Some now think the S&P 500's performance in the second half of this year will be subpar because the market needs to catch its breath. Well, history says the momentum is likely to continue. Whenever the S&P 500 rose in the first half, it gained an average 5.4% in the second half and increased in price 74% of the time. What's more, if the first half gain was greater than 10%, the market jumped 7.5% in the second half and rose in price 76% of the time. So despite the strong advance thus far in 2013, history says that investors would be wise to give the market's momentum the benefit of the doubt. I'm Sam Stovall, and I'll talk with you again next week.